We are the Gujarat Technological University. Since its inception over a decade ago, GTU has been empowering young and curating minds to realize their true potential. Over 4 lakh inspired students are enrolled with one of the premier academic universities in India. With more than 450 affiliated colleges in its fold operating across 5 zones of the state, GTU, the International Innovative University, your place to move forward.
So today we will be starting with the gear manufacturing process. In this lecture, we will be focusing on some of the gear manufacturing process which include the gear milling operation and gear generating process which include hobbing and the gear shaping operation. So the first one is spawn milling and the second one is the gear generation process that we will be focusing. Let us first start with the introduction to gears. Now, what are the gears? Gears is a device with the help of which the motion is transmitted from motor to the machine. Now, always the motor is running at a constant speed generally, and to have the speed according to the requirement, we are using the gearbox consisting of the gears, where the gear speed is step up or step down according to our requirement, and we can obtain the required torque and the required speed. Generally, there are various types of the gears which are used in the machine depending upon the loading condition and the type of the axis where the motion needs to be transmitted, which includes the spur gear, helical gear, bevel gear, worm and worm wheel, spiral gear, etc. Now, the characteristic of the gear drive should be such that the gearbox should run smoothly, jerk-free, and noiseless. It will run smooth when the friction is very less, okay, and it will not create any noise, or it will work in a jerk-free environment when the proper force intensity and a good profile is maintained. Okay, under this condition, the working of the gear will be reliable and efficient, and the gear life will also be longer. Okay, so the accuracy of the gear profile and the smoothness of the surface is the prime requirement to increase the life of the gear and to work and for the proper working of the gearbox. So these are the different manufacturing processes with the help of which gear can be manufactured. We will be basically discussing machining in this lecture. Also, this gear can be manufactured with the help of the casting operation where the mold is prepared, molten metal is poured, and it gets solidified as per the shape of the mold, which will be in the form of a gear. Generally, the gear which is manufactured in the casting operation is not so accurate and require a finishing operation as well as machining operation. Now, cold drawing operation is a metal forming operation where the metal is flown in a required direction in a die, and when the metal is flown inside the die, it will acquire the shape of the die, which will be in the form of a gear. And this you can say it is a cold drawing. Extrusion is a process where the complete rod is extruded, which is having outer periphery of the shape of the gear. Later on, this rod is cut across a required width to have the gear of the required width. Okay, so the long rod is prepared with the help of the extrusion process, and according to the requirement, by keeping particular width, the rod is cut and we can have the gear of a required width. Now, coining is again the metal forming process which is done in the press form, which is done in the by the pressing the material in a die. Okay. Then the powder metallurgy and plastic molding are generally used for preparing the smaller size gears. The powder metal is generally used for making the gear of the brass, and plastic molding used for preparing the gear made of the plastic. And this their dimension generally is having the maximum dimension of 25 mm pitch diameter. Such a gears are generally used in toys. Okay. Now, when we want a gear of higher strength, then only the cold drawing or the pouring process is utilized. Otherwise, under normal condition, we are using the machining as a prime process for manufacturing. Now, this is the first machining process, which is a form cutting. Now, we know what is a form cutting. In form cutting, we have the shape of the tool is of the specific shape, which is a replica of the recess which needs to be prepared. Here, the recess is in the form of a space between the two teeth, and therefore the gear or the cutter will be having the specific shape of the space between the two teeth, so that when the cutter rotates, it will cut the material and it will create a space between the two teeth. Now, the tooth accuracy depends upon the cutter accuracy, how the profile of the cutter is accurate, how accurate the profile of the cutter is. Then the cutter location, the cutter should be located parallel to the axis or in plane of the axis of the blank. So the center of the cutter and the axis of the blank must be in one plane. The plane must not be what we can say having certain offset. Otherwise, the gear will be inaccurate. Then the blank rotation. In case of the form milling, the indexing needs to be done, and indexing is the rotating of the blank at a pitch angle accurately. If this pitch angle is not maintained, then one teeth will be having a larger thickness and one teeth will be having the lesser thickness, and thus it will create an inaccuracy in the gear. And therefore, the indexing is very necessary to be accurate. And last one is the tooth depth. That is, the cutter should be radially moved in a downward direction up to the required depth of the cut accurately. Okay, the depth of the cut should not be very deep also, and it should not be what we can say shallow. Otherwise, during operation, the teeth will get damaged. Now, different types of the form cutting operation are form milling, broaching, cutting with a single point cutting tool. So the form milling, which is having the cutter, having the shape, which is having the replica of the space between the two teeth. Then the broaching is where the broaching tool is used, and the broaching tool is having the shape similar to the space between the two teeth. Similarly, the single point cutting tool can also be used for preparing the gears, where the shape of the tool will be having the shape which is equivalent to the space between the two teeth. So this is the what we can say milling process. Here you can see that there are two types of the cutter which can be used for the milling operation. The first one is having the vertical axis, and the second one is having the horizontal axis. In both the case, the shape of the shape of the cutter is having the shape which is equivalent to the space between the two tools, so that when the cut is taking place up to the required depth, the space between the two teeth is produced. Then the gear is indexed it at an angle equal to the pitch angle. Again, the cutting will take place, and similarly, the rotation or the indexing is done. So, after one complete rotation of the gear, the complete gear is prepared. So, this rotation of the gear is known as a indexing. So, indexing is by the predetermined amount. Indexing is done by indexing head. So this is an attachment which is required for the gear milling operation where indexing is needed. And for the next cut is done after indexing. With one complete rotation, we can obtain a complete gear blank. So we can produce spur, helical as well as the bevel gear with the help of the form milling cutter. Now, the characteristic of the milling operation is here one cutter should be used for one independent number of the teeth gears. That is, let us say if we want to have an accurate gear, then let us say if we use 10 number of the 17 number of the teeth, then we should use one cutter. If it is 18 number of the teeth, then we should use another cutter, okay, which is corresponding to the 18 number of teeth. But if we use individual cutter for different number of the teeth, then there will be a large number of the teeth which will be uneconomic, which will create the process to be uneconomical. and therefore we are using one cutter for some range of the teeth. Let us say if it is a cutter number 1, it will be used for 135 number of teeth to the rack, that is infinite number of teeth. Then the third cutter is used for 35 number of teeth to 54 number of the teeth. Okay, so here one cutter is used for the range of the number of the teeth, and this will create inaccuracy in the tooth profile of the gear, and therefore when these gears are used during the transmitting operation, it will produce a noise, and therefore after producing the gear with the help of milling operation, the finishing operation is required, which will make the gear accurate as well as smooth. Now this is a gear cutting with the help of the single point cutting tool, which is generally done on the shaping machine. Here the single point cutting tool is again having the shape which is equivalent to the space between the two teeth. And with the help of reciprocating motion during the forward stroke, the cutting will take place. During the backward stroke, the idle motion will take place. Generally, quick return mechanism is provided to cover the backward stroke in a lesser time than as compared to the forward stroke, and this will reduce the time of the production also. So here, while preparing the space between the two teeth, the blank is moved in upward direction after completion of each stroke so that the depth is given, and when the depth of complete tooth is attained, then the gear is taken out, it is indexed at a particular pitch angle, again the cutting operation will start. So here this operation is very slow because a number of the passes is needed for one single tooth. Again, there are number of the teeth on the gear, and therefore here the process is very slow. So sometime to what we can say, to increase the speed of the process, instead of the one cutter, many cutters, multi cutters are used. Instead of one tool, multi tools are used. Here in the second figure you can see that multi tools are used, that is number of the tool is equal to the number of the space between the two teeth, and all the tools are moving in a radial direction and they are performing the cutting operation simultaneously. So in a time of preparing one tooth in the above process, in that time only the complete gear is obtained in the second process. The gear, so in case of this single point cutting tool, the gear produced is accurate and of the better quality, but it is very slow process. The third one is the cutting the bevel gear. Now we know that the bevel gear is used for transmitting the motion between the two perpendicular shaft or shaft at an angle, and therefore there is certain cone angle which is always provided in case of the bevel gear. So this is a cone angle which is provided. Now if this cut blank, or we can say gear, is tilted at half the cone angle, or we can say root angle, then the root of this blank or root of this teeth will become horizontal. So when the cutter is moving in a horizontal plane, then we can form this type of the gear. Okay, we can form this type of the space. So for the gear which is moving in a horizontal plane, this gear, for the cutter which is moving in a horizontal plane, the gear must be inclined at an angle equal to the root angle, so that the root of the gear would become horizontal and it can be cut with the help of the milling cutter. So to tilt the gear at an angle equal to the root angle, we are using the indexing head, which is having the mechanism to tilt the gear. And after the completion of one tooth space, after creating one tooth space, again the gear is indexed by the indexing head, and again the cut is being taken. Okay, so the blank is rotated after individual cut, and three cuts are generally required for producing one teeth space. So these are the different types of the form cutting, and what are their advantages? That any type of the cutter can be formed, that is a spur, helical, or the bevel gear, and it is economical because it is using the less and the economical tooling. Okay, but the main disadvantage is, in the case of the milling operation, one cutter is used for the number of the teeth of the gears, and because of this reason, then error in the job tooth profile will be there, and this error in the tooth profile must be removed with the help of the gear finishing operation for better operation. of the gear, okay, during the service condition, okay. And this process is very slow, and therefore it cannot be used for the mass production. Yes, it can be used for the batch production, but it cannot be used for the mass production, and cannot form an internal teeth with the help of the milling cutter. With the help of the milling cutter, you cannot produce an internal teeth, but only you can only produce an external teeth. So there are two procedures with the help of which the internal teeth cannot be generated. The first one is hobbing, and the second one is with the help of milling. Then the second method is the gear generation process. The gear generation process is the process in which the gear tooth space, that is the space between the two teeth, is generated. Now here in this case, there are two types of the gear in mesh. Actually, the two parts which are kept in mesh with each other just as a meshing gear. The first part is a cutter, which is having the shape of the gear, and it is much harder than that of the blank. The second part is the blank. Though the cutter is much harder than that of the blank. Now both are uh, rotated simultaneously so that they are in mesh with each other as a gear. Now, because of this reason, the cutter will have the interference with the blank, because the blank does not have any teeth or the teeth space. So there will be an interference between the cutter and the blank. So because of this interference, this cutter is a harder, and therefore it will remove the material from the part where there must be the tooth space. So this will generate automatically the tooth space because of the interference of the cutting tool with the blank. Okay, so here the teeth is generated rather than machine. Okay, in the case of the hobbing operation also, there is a hobbing tool which is feeded against the blank, and it will remove the material from that part of the blank where there must be the tooth space. So when two tooth spaces are created, almost two teeth are prepared. So during one complete rotation of the gear blank, we will be having one complete gear, which is machine. Okay, so for this operation, the cutter must be provided with a number of the feeds, which may be in a radial direction, which may be the rotational direction, okay, and it may be the reciprocating, depending upon the procedure. Okay, now this gear generation process uh, are classified as the pinion or rack shaping, hobbing, and bevel gear generator. In the present lecture, we will be discussing pinion and rack shaping and the gear hobbing. Now, this is the gear shaping operation with the help of the pinion. Why it is with the help of the pinion? Here the cutter is in the form of the pinion, which is a smaller gear, and the blank is in the form of a larger gear. Now blank does not have the teeth, and therefore the interference is created between the cutter and the blank, and because the cutter is hard, it will remove the material from the blank, from the part where there must be the tooth space, and this will generate the teeth on the blank. So to machine with the help of this procedure, the tool is first faded radially. So two motions are given to the tool initially. The first is the reciprocating motion, and the second one is the radial feed towards the axis of the blank. Okay, so once the tool is moved to produce the tooth space equivalent to the tool depth. So when the tool depth is attained, then the radial feed is stopped and the rotational feed is started. Okay, so the radial feed is initially given to produce the teeth to the complete depth. Okay, the complete depth. When the complete depth of the tooth is attained, the radial feed is stopped and the rotational feed is started. Now the simultaneous rotation is given to the pinion as well as to the blank. Now reciprocating motion is always there on the pinion side, that is on the cutter side. Here you can see that the cutter is given the relief angle on the upper side, and because of this relief angle, it will produce a sharp cutting edge on the front side, and the back side will not get rubbed with the blank. Now during the reciprocating motion, when the pinion moves in a downward direction, it will cut the material from the blank. It will move in upward direction, it won't cut, it will be an idle stroke. So here also the quick return mechanism may be used for to minimize the time in a backward stroke. Okay, and here uh, this will increase the production. Okay, with in a minimum time. So this is how the gear is produced. Now when the rotation is started, simultaneous rotation of the pinion as well as the gear is started, then the gear starts gets generating, and after one complete rotation of the gear blank, complete gear is being prepared. Now this gear shaping operation is faster than the milling operation, but as we can see that only the machining operation is occurring in a forward stroke. Reverse stroke is idle. This cutting operation is what we can say, uh, uh, the time taken in this gear shaping operation is greater than that of the bobbing operation, which we'll be discussing in the next part. Now, the gear shaping operation which we have discussed is the follows gear shaper, where the cutter axis as well as the blank axis is vertical. That is, the reciprocating motion of the cutter is also in a vertical direction, and therefore it is known as a Fellows gear shaper. If this complete setup is such that the cutter is reciprocated in a horizontal direction as well as the blank axis is horizontal, then it is known as a Sykes process. So this is a gear shaping operation with the help of the pinion. Similarly, the gear shaping operation can also be performed with the help of the rack. Here also there are two motion. The first motion is a tangential motion of the rack. So you can see that the rack is moving tangential to the gear blank. Simultaneously, the reciprocating motion is also provided to the rack perpendicular to the screen. So two types of the motion. The first is a reciprocating motion perpendicular to the screen, and a second one is a tangential motion with respect to the blank. So here initially you can see that initial cut is taken, then as the rack is moving in a forward direction, more and more amount of the material is removed. So in a third figure you can see that a small material is removed by the third teeth, then the large amount of the material, almost the complete tooth space, is formed in the second teeth, and in the first teeth already the tooth space is being formed, only the shape is maintained. This will produce a finishing cut. Okay, so in this way, as the cutter is moving ahead, it will go on producing the teeth. So the motion of the blank, the rotational motion is provided on the blank, and a tangential motion is provided on the rack with the same velocity. That is, linear velocity of the rack as well as the blank is same. And one more motion is provided on the rack, that is a reciprocating motion perpendicular to the screen. Now generally this for complete manufacturing of this gear, the length of the rack must be very long, but keeping this length of the rack cutter to be very long is not feasible and therefore we are using the shorter length. Under this shorter length we can see that with this type of the length only quarter gear is being produced. So this rack needs to be moved 4 times so to complete the machining of the gear. Okay, so generally the rack is kept to the smaller length, and it is 2 to 4 pass are taken so that the complete gear is being formed. So here you can see that the blank axis is horizontal. Here the reciprocating of the rack is perpendicular to the screen, which is also horizontal. So this procedure of production of the gear shaping with the help of the rack, it is known as the Sunderland's method. Okay, Sunderland method. But if the blank axis is vertical, and the reciprocating motion of this rack is also vertical, then such a procedure of gear shaping is known as a Mach method. Okay. Now, what are the advantages of the gear shaping? One cutter can be used for all the gears. Now, here the cutter depends upon the module of the teeth. It is independent on the number of the teeth. Therefore, the single cutter can be used for n number of teeth. Okay. Now, the tooth profile is true and accurate. Why? Because here the tooth profile is generated. The tooth profile is generated, and therefore it is accurate and true. Can cut the teeth of the smaller recesses also, and production is faster than that of the milling operation and can produce almost all type of the gears, helical gears, spur gears, bevel gear. All the gears can be produced with the help of the gear shaping operation. Now here the cutting stroke is only occurring in a forward direction. In a reverse direction it is an idle, and therefore it is slower process as compared to that of the hobbing operation. And for cutting of the helical gear teeth, the cutter should move at an angle equal to the helix angle. So if this helix angle needs to be provided, then the cutter should move at an helix angle in this direction. It should not move in a vertical direction. Okay, and for moving the cutter in this direction, a special guide needs to be used for cutting the helical gears. Now let us take the third operation, that is known as a hobbing operation. This hobbing operation required a tool, a special tool which is known as a hob. This hob is having the threads. Okay, it is a cylinder which is having the thread, and these threads are provided with the flutes. Now the direction of the flutes will be parallel to the axial direction. So this is the axis of the hob, and parallel to the axis the flutes are provided, and because of these flutes it will provide a cutting edge in a forward direction. In the back direction the relief angle is provided so that it will not get rubbed with the blank, and because of this relief angle and the fluid there will be a sharp cutting edge in a forward direction which will be helpful in removing the material. Okay, now the this hob may be single start or the multi start. Generally for the production purpose we use a multi start thread. Let us say we are using the single start thread, and the time taken for the manufacturing of a gear is T. Then in case of the multi-start thread, it will be T by 2. The time taken will be T by 2 for the double start thread. If the triple start thread is taken, then the time taken will be T by 3. That is, the uh, time will go on reducing if we use a multi-start thread. And therefore, generally for the production purpose, we are using the multi-start threads. Okay. So the hobbing may be done with a work spindle with vertical position as well as the horizontal position, but generally the vertical spindle is generally preferred, which permits the easy holding of the workpiece. Now this figure shows the hobbing operation, okay, for the gear manufacturing. Here first the blank is moved. Let us say the blank, a circular blank is moved against the hob. When the complete depth of the cut is taken, then the radial direction feed, that is the radial feed is stopped and the rotational feed is started. Okay, so here with the rotation, the space between the two teeth is generated automatically in the same way as that of two gears are in mesh. Okay, and with one complete rotation of the blank, the gear is generated. Okay, here the tool is given the rotational motion as well as the axial motion, because the gear is having certain width, and along the complete width the cut needs to be taken, and because of this reason here the space involved for the cutting between the hob and the blank is very small. There is a space involved for the cutting is very small, and therefore to cover up the complete width we have to give the hob an axial motion, okay, parallel to the axis of the blank, okay, to cover up the complete width, and this will create a hob gear space along the complete width. So the hob and the blank is mounted on the machine. The blank is moved towards the rotating hob until the required blank. So this radial feed is given until the required depth is achieved. Then the rotation motion is given to the hob along its axis, as well as the rotation motion is given to the blank for the production or the generation of the teeth. Hob meshes with the blank as the gear and the rack. Now for the gear with a module less than 8, the gear can be obtained in a single pass. So this is the, what we can say, this makes the process to be faster. That is, in a single pass you can obtain one complete gear. But for the module which is less than 8, if the module is greater than 8, then at least 2 passes are necessary. These are the certain feeds which are used during the hobbing operation. The first one is the axial feed. What do you mean by axial feed? The cutter is moving parallel to the axis of the blank, either in upward direction or the downward direction. Now this axial feed can be classified into two parts. The first one is a climb hobbing and the second one is a conventional hobbing. Let us say instead of the cutter here there is a wheel. If the wheel is rotated here in a clockwise direction, it will certainly move in a upward direction. So when the cutter is rotated in a one direction and in the direction of the rotation the cutter is moving, then we call it as a climb hobbing. And if we move the cutter in a direction opposite to that of the direction of rotation of the cutter, then we call it as a conventional hobbing. Okay, then the second feed is known as a radial feed. The radial feed is given to cover the depth of the teeth, generally for the spur and helical gear, the radial feed is given to cover the depth of the teeth. Once the depth of the teeth is achieved, the radial feed is stopped. Okay, now this radial feed is of importance in the case of the one gear also, where up to the required depth the teeth needs to be obtained. Now the third one is a tangential feed. Tangential feed is a movement of the hob tangential to the wheel. So this is the wheel, and tangent to the wheel the hob is moved for the cutting, and this feed is known as a tangential feed. Now sometimes to reduce the time, or to in case when the space is very less for the hobbing operation, we use the combination of the speeds. Okay, that includes the combined speed. This combined speed is the combination of axial as well as the radial feed. Okay, so the axial feed and radial feed occur simultaneously in case of the combined feeding. Okay, this type of the feeding becomes necessary when enough space is not available for providing necessary approach to the axial feeding. The second feed is a diagonal feed, which is a combination of radial and tangential feed. Now generally these feeds are provided because it gives an excellent rolling characteristic to the gear. Okay, and this method also gives uniform wear along the length of the hob, resulting into the longer hob life. That is, all the gears are having equal wear, or we can say all gears are cutting equally. So no part of the gear is getting wear earlier, and therefore this will increase the life of the hob. So this we have just discussed that there are two types of the axial feeding, the climb feeding and the conventional feeding. Then the radial feeding, which is generally given uh, uh, to achieve the complete depth of the tooth, as well as it is also given while preparing the worm gear with the help of hobbing operation. Okay. Then the advantages of the hob, that is, it is having the higher production rate, higher than that of the gear shaping also, and setup time is economical. Spur, helical, worms, splines, all the rest of the gears can be produced with the help of the hobbing operation. Now heat is a gear generating process, and therefore the accurate gear can be produced. And here also the same cutter can be used for different number of the teeth and number of the teeth. Okay, the cutter is always defined in terms of module, but for the number of the teeth, the same cutter for the same cutter can be used, and it can be used for the ferrous, non-ferrous, metallic as well as non-metallic material. This hobbing operation can be used. The main disadvantage is that cannot be used for the internal gears. So for producing internal gears, we have to go for the gear shaping operation only, and cannot produce the gears near the shoulder and herringbone gears. Now, whenever there is a shoulder ahead of the gear, then we cannot go for the hobbing operation because hobbing operation requires axial movement. So while moving the hob axially, the shoulder will restrict the motion of the hob, and because of this restriction we cannot cover the complete width of the gear, and therefore the gear which are having the shoulders cannot be produced with the help of hobbing operation. Similarly, herringbone gears generally have helix angle, that is towards clockwise helix angle on one side and anti-clockwise helix angle on the other side. And such type of the gears cannot be produced with the help of the hobbing operation. Now these are the gear manufacturing process, and this is followed by the gear finishing process. Why gear finishing process is required, as we have discussed earlier, so that number one, to reduce the friction. Why? Because the surface becomes smooth. To accurate the profile so that the noisy operation can be eliminated, the shock and jerk during the operation can be eliminated, and the wear, because of this reason, the wear of the teeth will be very less, and this will increase the lifespan of the gear. And therefore, because of this reason, the finishing process is very necessary. Okay. Now, generally, the gear milling operation, the profile is inaccurate, and if this gear is used for the operation, it will produce a noise and jerk. And because of this reason, we have to use the gear finishing process after gear milling. Similarly, in case of the gear shaping and gear hobbing, the material is cut and therefore the surface produces the burrs as well as the rough surface will be there. And to produce a smooth surface so that the friction will be minimized, wear will be minimized, we have to use the gear finishing operation. The economic way of the production is that to produce the large number of the gears by taking the rough cut, that is the cut with a higher depth. This will produce a very rough surface, but this rough surface can be smoothened with the help of the finishing operation. So gear, this roughing operation is followed by the finishing operation, and we can obtain the gear economically in a lesser time. So the accurate gears and the highly finished gear can also be produced with the help of the shaping operation, but it will increase the number of the cut, it will increase the production time. But on the consequence, the cost of the production will also increase. But a better way is to produce the rough gears with the help of the gear shaping or the gear hobbing or the milling operation. Rough gears are produced, so the time of the gear production will be minimized, and this will be followed by the gear grinding operation. Okay, so that the tooth profile becomes smooth and accurate. So once the finishing operation is done, then the correction of the profile will be there. Then the proper concentricity is maintained. That is the concentricity of the pitch circle of the gear and the shaft. The center of the pitch circle and the center of the shaft must be the same. So this will, if this concentricity is maintained, then the jerk will not occur. Okay, and when the surface is smooth, jerk free, and noiseless operation will enhance the lifespan of the gear. So there are different gear finishing process, which includes the gear shaving, which is similar to that of the shaping operation, but the cutter is having the serrated teeth, which will remove the small amount of the material and increase the surface profile and make the surface profile accurate. Burnishing is a process of uh, plastic deformation. Okay, so it will deform the material plastically so that accurate profile is obtained. The third one is the gear grinding, where the grinding wheel, which is having the same set of shape as that of the space between the two teeth, is used for grinding the space between the two teeth and making it smooth and accurate. The lapping is a process in which the two gears which need to be uh, finished are kept in mesh with each other and rotated with a very high speed in a presence of abrasive slurry. So at a meshing point, abrasive slurry is inserted. So this abrasive slurry consists of abrasive particle. Now this, when the teeth are in mesh, they does not come directly in contact with the teeth of the subsequent gears, but in between the two teeth there will be an abrasive particle which will remove a small amount of the material and make the surface smooth and accurate. Okay, honing is similar to that of the grinding operation. Okay, but it will be giving more smooth and accurate surface, where noiseless and very smooth operation is required, then only honing is done, otherwise it is a very costly process. Okay, so generally the lapping, grinding and shaving is preferred. Burnishing is what we can say, it requires a large amount of the force, and the process is also not accurate, okay, as compared to that of the grinding shaving and lapping. So generally these three are preferred as a manufacturing process. Okay, so this figure gives an idea of the different gear manufacturing process. The first one is the gear shaping with the rack. The second one is the hobbing operation. The third one is the shaping operation. And the fourth one is the gear skewing, which is a combination of the shaping operation. Okay, the skewing operation. So this ends up, we are ending up over here this lecture uh, after discussing the form milling and the gear generation process, different types of. In a later part, we will be discussing the skewing operation as well as the gear finishing process. Okay, thank you.